Hey guys, I'm trainer Greg Hill, and today I have BJ and Brian here. These are two of our actual real-life clients here at Ideal Core. I've invited them in because they've always asked some of the greatest questions, and I felt that it is a shame that more people aren't getting these questions answered, because I know most of you probably have some of the same questions. So Brian, BJ, thank you for joining me with Drinks with Your Trainer.
Thanks for having
Cheers.
us. Cheers.
My pleasure. So, can I start off?
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so I do a lot down here, downtown Lake Orion, and I walked by your studio many times. And one of the things that really was keeping me from coming in was this fear of like, well, I'm not ready yet. I'm not ready. I got to get myself ready before I'm ready to go into the gym.
Yes.
And it was just kind of this awkward kind of thing. And I know we've talked about that, about how intimidating it is when you're sitting there thinking, right now I'm not doing anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do I even get started?
Yeah.
So what would you say to somebody that's like, where do I even get started?
Yeah, no, like that's, everyone's at a different level. I mean, I think it's important to understand that everyone's case is a little bit differently. You know, like you might have been walking by and wondering where to start. There might be people that like are already actively working out at a gym and just not seeing progress. So it's important really to understand like everyone's at their own spot, at their own level. If you are literally just starting to like I know that I need to get moving, I know that I need to make some changes in my nutrition, the best thing is just get started. I mean, most of us already know a lot of the behaviors that are really important: eating vegetables, getting plenty of sleep, moving more. I think those are really important things just to start up. So again, like just making basic, real small changes. It could just be even like parking in the back of the parking lot. It could be, you know, taking an extra trip around the grocery store, or taking the stairs. Like a lot of small changes make big differences in the long run.
I think it's the first step. I mean, it's just step number one. I, like you, driving by, what attracted me to the facility was Pilates. I had always wanted to try it. I had no experience with it, wanted to try it. Lo and behold, you know, you come in, I got a chance to try Pilates, but then also realized there's this whole other area in as far as strength training and nutrition training. And, you know, I signed up for one of the classes, and I was just taking in so much information, and then had to say to myself, small steps.
Yeah.
Take in what you can right then,
Yeah.
and then move forward.
And I think that's a real important thing, is like find something that you're going to really enjoy. You know what I mean? A lot of times when people are first starting about like making that commitment to getting healthier and getting fit, they sort of force themselves into things. You know what I mean? Like if like I hate running, like getting started with fitness would be a terrible start with starting to run. Right. You know, if you really like running, like rock and roll, like start walking, start running, start jogging, doing things like that. For a lot of people, it's Pilates or yoga or Zumba or, you know, some sort of, you know, group fitness class. And then as you start to get a little bit more comfortable with it, and you start to get a little bit more curious of like, what can my body do? Like, again, like that's like me and Lindsay always joke around that like Pilates is the gateway drug to strength training, because again, like a lot of people are intimidated by lifting weights and doing like cardio intervals and things like that. But then again, like you start to absorb and you say, okay, well, like that's not so scary now that I've built up a little bit of confidence doing something. So again, finding something that you really like to do first, that is, I would say that's like step two. Is like once I've got my feet wet with, okay, I'm moving, I'm eating a little bit better, let's start to like dabble into something that I really enjoy.
Yeah, like I can comment when I did get the courage and took the first step inside and joined Ideal Core here, I started getting integrated into workouts right away. And there was all this great talk about diet and meal prep, and I was like, oh, this is cool too. So, you know, I'm starting to pay attention to that, and so now I'm trying to change my diet. And it didn't take me very long to realize, whoa, this is too much, too fast. And I remember we talked about, you were like, well, what brought you in? I'm like, well, I wanted to start getting back to working out. It was like, let's just do that. Okay. And frankly, I think it took me like 9 months before I started saying like, well, you know, Greg, I've been working out, whatever. I feel like I want this to happen, that to happen. Yeah. And you were kind of like, well, keep working out, but Brian, we got to go back and start talking about that diet again. But it was a very different conversation, because then I was like, oh, well, the workout is routine. Like I don't
Yes.
think about this anymore. And then that diet discussion and plan was much more approachable.
Yeah.
So
I think that key number one is also being open. You and I were just having a conversation about that, is your individual goals. But people have to really dig deep to figure out what that goal is. Because much to your point, it takes a much longer process than what people will get. And when I first started, that was our conversation all the time. You need to give yourself some time. This is not going to happen overnight. Greg would say, sure, I could put you on a diet that you're going to drop 10 pounds, but you're not going to be able to sustain that.
Yeah.
And that wasn't ultimately what I wanted. I wanted to get stronger and more fit and what goes along with that. But yes, ultimately I did want to drop some pounds and everything, but you can't do it all at one time. And if you're honest with what your goals are, you can do a much better job of kind of guiding us down that path.
Yeah. And I think that's a real big like difference maker, is that like you get two people that like want to join like a gym or start getting healthier. It is usually the people that have long-term success, we'll say. They're the people that have had something drastic to them. So my father-in-law, perfect example, he had a heart attack, quit smoking, quit eating junk food. Like it was just like this day and night, like, okay, this is just it and it's done. He is the very few that I've seen being successful with just dramatic changes. So those are the people that like come in and they have all the like those big eyes, and they're like, oh, I'm going to exercise 7 days a week, and I'm going to stop eating junk, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this, and it works great for a week, and then it's right back to square one. And that's why a lot of people wind up failing. Where I find where most people are successful is some of those gradual changes. So it's not that you don't want to have a big plan for things, it's allow yourself to let that plan come to fruition. So like it's like if you walked into kindergarten or you had your kids start in kindergarten, you're like, hey, here's your calculus test, and like here's all the tools to do calculus. Like they're not going to be successful, and we don't give ourselves that time to get comfortable with exercise or get comfortable with a diet change and really let that settle in to be a long-term lasting thing. So again, like I think a big piece is understanding what kind of person you are and realizing that most of us are those like small, comfortable changes. Let me make it a habit. Let me make it a routine. Let me get comfortable with this, and then I'm going to start adding this, and then I'm going to start adding this. And that's when like real lifelong changes happen. And those are the people that, again, like you don't ask them what they're doing, you ask them how long they've been doing it. And like you've been working out consistent for a year, and I've been working on my diet for 2, 3, in my case, like I've been fine tuning my diet over the past 8, 9, 10 years. And it's like, it's still a part like of me that I have to sort of think about, but it's just more automatic than most people. So
there also has to be a balance between what are you willing to put into this to get what you want.
Yes.
So here's your ultimate goal. But what are you willing to do to get there?
Yeah.
Because I can tell you how to get there in 3 months, but are you willing to do what it takes to get there in 3 months? Or is it more realistic that you're going to hit it in 15 months?
Yeah.
And in that case, we can work on this to get you where you want to be in the 15 months. So
that's actually, excuse me, that's actually a really good question. Do you advise clients in that way? I mean, are you able to, help give them an idea of this is how long it might take you? Is that like I'm asking almost like, is that a fair question, or is it that, well, maybe it's so wildly different for each individual?
And do people want to hear the answer?
Yeah, So yes, you can draw out a roadmap. You know what I mean? Like again, like you can do it in a healthy way, you can do it in an unhealthy way. And again, it comes down to the client goals, the client wants. You know what I mean? Like I've had people that I've had, shed off 20, 30, 40 pounds in a 2-month, 3-month span. It's not exactly healthy, but they got it there. It's just like pro sports, like taking a 300-pound gorilla and bashing him in your head while you're throwing a football isn't exactly healthy. But if that's what you really want to do, I mean, I'm here to coach you to your goals. So yes, we can be realistic with things, but people also need to understand is that like we can draw out this optimal plan, but how well are you, how able are you to stick to that optimal plan? Like some people are really great. You say like, okay, like you're going to have this many grams of protein, this many grams of carbohydrates, this many grams of fat. You're going to do X, Y, Z with your workouts, and they'll just stick to it. They have that kind of self-discipline. Most of us aren't living in that world, and so they have to deviate a little bit from the plan, and me included. Like again, like you have to like, and that's the important thing of a good coach. Is you're going to get lost, and that good coach is going to say, okay, like let's reroute you back onto that right path. So like, yes, you can set those goals with those 3, 6, 9 months in mind, but understand that like you're gonna get deviated off. Like I'd love to drive, to downtown Detroit in a half hour, but if there's a traffic jam, I either got to get off the road and get back on, or just sit and wait. So you were starting to touch on a point that I know we all deal with, and that is we all enter a program, whether it's a goal to be more active, work out, or whether it's diet, whether it's a combination of both. But we all have that moment where we kind of fall off the wagon. It can be one meal. It can be a weekend. For me, it's vacation. I can't tell you how many times I tell myself, I'm going on vacation this week, but I'm asking Greg, I need some workouts I can do in a gym, whatever. And I come back and I'm thinking like, I hope Greg doesn't ask me how the workouts went, because I didn't do a single one. I had good intentions, but I know it just didn't happen. But what kind of advice do you have for people if maybe they fall off that wagon once, or maybe it's happening 3 times a week, or like, are there any tips to that, or I mean,
start over, or like what's the plan?
Yeah, so a couple things. Rome wasn't built in a day. Your optimal physique wasn't built in one meal. You know what I mean? Like you are never going to have someone who is of peak athleticism say like, you know what? It was that one workout. It was that 1 week. It was that protein bar that I had after that workout. Like that's the difference maker. But we hold ourselves to that standard of, oh shoot, I had that extra slice of pizza. Well, I guess I'll start my plan next week, or I'll just redo. So like your progress isn't made or broken by that small decision. Like a vacation, it's a week out of how many years of exercise, how many meals, like even if like I tried to, if I got back on the wagon, I couldn't sabotage all the progress that I've made since I've been working out since I was a teenage boy and focusing on my diet for the past 10, 15 years. I couldn't wreck that progress in a week. But what I can wreck is my motivation and my willingness to get back into the thing. And that's what the big thing that kills people in their progress is they go on their vacation and they feel scared to get back on the wagon. They feel scared to, well, if I go back to the gym, my trainer's going to think like, oh, what were they doing? Like, we don't care. We just want you to get there. Like, we want you to keep on making steps forward, and we're not going to dwell on the things that happened in the past. Like this weekend, like I had a few extra donuts and cider at the cider mill. Like, I'm not going to just give up on my progress. I'm just going to get back on the horse and learn from my mistakes and try to move on from them.
And it's tough for people to forgive themselves, to be able to get beyond that and know that you're not wrecking it just on one vacation. You've got to do something.
The mental game is the hardest one.
Do you find that the motivation level or openness or just training in general, men versus women, is different? Like, who's more open to,
this is why we have BJ
I mean,
here.
I know I'm a good student, but, Brian over there, no.
What are you saying? Yeah.
I think one of the harder pieces is again, like the mental game, where a lot of times most guys will have the, I don't care, I'm just going to get back and do wherever, where a lot of times females have that stigma of, oh wow, well, like I gained 3 pounds, and most of the time that 3 pounds comes in the form of water and glycogen rather than actual fat mass. And so then it builds up this big ball of, oh no, oh no, oh no. So it might not be more so like a male versus female, but like how your personality is. And I think more men tend to have that like I don't care sort of mentality in their personality, whereas a lot of women do have that sort of I care. I worry about like how I feel, how I look, and like what's going to happen with my next step, because now it's an unknown. But again, if you have
And
a
I
plan,
think women are, I think, maybe not, probably more victim of what you had indicated at the beginning of, well, I probably need to get in a little bit better shape before I come in.
Yeah.
Because what if I can't do it? What if, what if? I think one of the key takeaways I have really held strong from you over the course of the time that I've been here versus it sabotaging me in the past is the scale. And getting on the scale and not truly, I hate the scale anyway, like most women do, but you had said, download Happy Scale, download the app, weigh yourself every single day, which was like shoving bamboo shoots under my fingernails. Like, seriously, you're going to make me do this every day. But the point was well taken, because it goes like this. And I would come in and work out and I'd be like, Greg, I was up 3 pounds. He's like, BJ, you just had this huge workout the night before. Your body's going to hold on to that water. Weigh yourself again in 2 days. Weigh it, see where you're at in 2 days. And it drastically changes. It all of a sudden frees me from that fear.
Yes.
And so, I do think it's unfortunate that people aren't willing to just jump in and start.
Yeah, and I think again, like when you I'm very analytical, where Lindsay is way more emotional, and I see data, and Lindsay sees emotion. You know what I mean? So we could both step on the scale, both be up 2 pounds, where I just see that as a data point, and Lindsay sees that as the failure.
This isn't working.
The failure and the like, oh my gosh, my pants aren't going to fit. And like, so she sees more of the emotional side, where I just see a data point. You know what I mean? So again, like the more that you can understand that, like, as long as you stick to the plan, like
Yes.
the data will drive your progress, and the data will drive you to make your changes. So like when the data starts flattening out, like we talked about, like when the scale starts to like sort of flatten out, you just take a look back at what you're doing, and you say, okay, what adjustments do I need in order to elicit the data to continue to drop? And again, that's a really hard gap to make, and I still struggle with it. Like I still weigh myself every morning, and like when I see myself up, I'm like, wait a second, I had the best workout yesterday, and I ate so great. And
so I'm kind of celebrating having cut about 12 to 14 pounds over the last 2 months. But what was really surprising about that journey for me was it was anything but linear. Like, of course I can't say like my compliance was 100% perfect. There were, some missteps here and there, but they weren't gross missteps. But it was surprising to me how I would go 3, 4, 5 days, and I'm thinking, this scale has maybe moved half a pound. And then 3 days later, it was like, I'm down 2 pounds.
Yeah.
How did that just happen?
Yeah.
And then I'm like, all right, sweet. Here we go. Now we're and then it like installed again. But then I was like, whoa, I just lost another 2.5 out of that. So it was a really interesting journey. But it took me about a month to finally figure out, okay, you need to calm down. And stop over analyzing like, okay, let's see, what did I eat yesterday? How hard did I work? Did I miss 50 calories someplace? Right. Like that. I finally was like, okay, this micromanaging thing is not going to work.
It's going to drive you insane.
And I just started looking at the longer trend and started saying, look, are you in a better spot now than you were 4 weeks ago when you started? You know what? Yes, I am. So something's working. Just try to keep going in that direction.
And that's such a healthy mindset to have, though, is like, am I in a better spot today than I was yesterday? It doesn't, like, whatever the scale says, like, the scale is just how much gravity's pulling down on you and what's inside you. So like, whether that is water, whether that you haven't went to the bathroom in a couple days, whether you are holding on to extra glycogen or
not sleeping,
not
stress,
all that stuff is going to mess around with what the scale is doing. But again, like, am I stronger than I was yesterday? Do I feel more energetic than I was yesterday? Is my health in a better position today than it was yesterday? And that's when you start to focus on, when we talked about goal setting, what's really important to you. What really important is that, like, number on the scale. Because when you deep dive, that number on the scale doesn't really mean anything. It doesn't mean that you're going to live longer. It doesn't mean that you are going to have better blood pressure. It doesn't mean that you can play with your kids more freely. It doesn't mean that you can go running on a 5K with your kids, or I can go up and down stairs up with the bleachers comfortably when I'm watching my kids' sports, or getting down on the floor with them and playing in my case. You know what I mean? So like having that healthy mindset of like, I'm better off today than I was yesterday. I'm going to keep on going. And if the scale follows me or not, I'm in a better spot than I was yesterday. And whether or not, like again, like if you're like not in a weight loss pattern, like doesn't mean that you're a terrible person, or that I should stop working out, or I should just give things up.
It's just a reevaluation. I like when we've talked about the 80%, you know, on a given day, are you 80% good? You know, as far as what you're eating and making healthy choices that way, and working out and being active. Okay, you've got a 20% flexibility, but it's when you're starting to dip below that and you're only 40%, you know, healthy, then that's probably something you need to work on.
Yeah. And then it comes into...
The pressure's off, too.
Well, then it comes into, like, so if you start dipping down and you're again, we talk about the 80-20. So, like, for most people, when they are 80% compliant, and they sort of forget the other 20%, like you're still going to make progress. If my kid brought home B's, again, like I'm still going to be pretty pumped because they're still learning. They're still getting a really good grasp of what they're supposed to be doing in school. If you're one of those parents that demands A pluses, then again, like that's your prerogative. But again, we're still going to learn. We're still going to progress. Once you start dipping below that, like 70 point, 60 point, then you start to think about, okay, like, are we on the right plan? Are we on the right path?
Right.
Then it comes back to that reevaluation of, do I need to change the plan? Do I need to change how I'm approaching the plan? Did I just sort of lose some motivation? I just need to redial in that focus?
Right.
Or do I need to reset my goals? Like if I'm only getting to the gym 3 times a week or 2 times a week, and I said like, oh, I need to get to the gym 5 days a week, like I'm going to feel defeated if I only get there 2 or 3 days a week, and I'm just going to feel like constant losses,
and expect the same results.
Yep, and then you're going to start to feel crappy, and then your motivation's going to dive down.
Yep.
So reset your goal. Again, it might take you a little bit longer to get there, but reset your goal to, I'm going to get to the gym 2 times a week. Then when you start showing up to the gym 3 days a week, then you're like, oh yeah, I'm doing really good. Look at me go. And then once you get comfortable with 3, when we talked about building on with behaviors, when you start to get comfortable with 3, then add in the 4th. And then when you start to get comfortable with the 4th, add in the 5th, or add in a walk, or you know what I mean? Like start doing some of those healthy things outside, because that's still going to get you closer to where you want to be tomorrow.
Right.
Or maybe with that 3 or 4 times, if you've achieved your goal, maybe your goals change at that point. Maybe it becomes maintenance, and maybe your life balance with work and family, you know, and everything you have going on, maybe that you discovered like that's right for you.
Yeah.
I'm bringing that up from the standpoint of like 3 days for one person might be perfect for what they're trying to achieve. But they don't automatically have to go to 6.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But somebody that's trying to achieve something far different might need the 6 days to do it.
Yeah, yeah. And there's lots of people out there that are very, very lean, very healthy, very muscular. Like they live a healthy lifestyle, and they're only doing traditional gym workouts 3 days a week. But they're active on the outside. They're focusing on their nutrition. And like we talked about beforehand, it's sometimes doing too much will put too much stress on you, and it actually laps you back. So some of the times the people that like go from 0 to 7 days, they wind up feeling, because again it's too much. Your body can't handle it. Like, and again, like it's reevaluating your goals. What's really important to you? Is it really important to look like Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie and like have like those like 6-pack abs and like I'm Aquaman and you know what I mean? Like, is that really important to you, or is having a good healthy balance where you can enjoy a drink every once in a while, when you can enjoy dessert every once in a while, you can go out with a loved one and not have to worry about like, oh, well, I can't get that steak and potatoes today because I only have 700 calories left on my Fitness Pal.
Absolutely.
So it's finding that right balance. And again, like I think a big piece, and maybe our next episode, is how do we set realistic goals, and when is it appropriate to change those goals?
I agree. I think it's a dialogue.
Awesome.
Well, that sounds like a great ending
Yeah,
to our conversation of getting started, guys. So again, I think a big takeaway point from some of the things that we talked about was just get started. If you are nervous about getting started, just start walking, start eating some more vegetables, start incorporating some more lean proteins, and don't try to overwhelm yourself. Again, like we see all these like magazines with all these celebrity diets and this and that and this and that. Like do what is realistic for you and something that is maintainable and manageable for you, and then build on those steps. I think that is the most important thing when we talk about like getting started. No matter where you're at, if you're already at the gym, just try to build on what you've got and build up. Don't sit there and try to recreate the wheel. Like if I've never done a CrossFit workout in my entire life and I'm just used to doing Zumba, like jumping into 6 days a week of CrossFit is an intense change and, you know, probably not healthy for you in the long run. So again, guys, build on what you got, make improvements. And if you guys have any questions, I don't know if you guys want to sort of wrap up anything, any last comments, thoughts?
I'm good. This has been so much fun. I'm glad we did this. Let's do this again.
Absolutely. Thanks.
If you guys have questions for us, please leave them in the comments below. We'll try to address them in future episodes of Drinks with Your Trainer. I am Greg. This is Brian. This is BJ.
All right. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers.